If you would like to see more of what I do, check me out on my website, Tom's Train of Thought, where you could find many different tabs, projects, layout updates, videos, and links, and of course, Rumble. So check that out. The link is in the description, and thank you for your support. A lot of things are on there that is not on YouTube, so check out Tom's Train of Thought website. I also do live streams on Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. You could find the links right here on my website, and there are other times when I pop up occasionally. Other times besides the Monday and Wednesday night live streams. So check it out.
Hey there, buddy, are you doing all right? I'm doing great, as a matter of fact. I'm on the road. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The bad days are gone, and now I'm on the road. The weather is clear and the sky is blue. Anything I want, baby, I can do. I'm on the road. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The bad days are gone, and now I'm on the road. Let me tell you, baby. You might have heard that I was down with the blues, but I can't give you more
Boom.
blues. I'm on the road.
Boy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The bad days are gone, and now I'm on the road. Yes, I am. Oh, yes, I am. I'm on the road. Those bad days are gone, and now I'm on the road. Those bad days are gone, and now I'm on the road. Those bad days are gone, and now I'm on the road.
Past the point of no return, baby, on the summer night. The shot of love and the spark of laughter breathe. Stars align and the month times night burn like a dried out leaf. Are we leaving on the next train, baby? I do believe. Come on, let's ride this train. straight in my song. I'm gonna pull my weight, don't get me wrong. A brand new start and a whole new part, they are big old shoes to fill. I'll be there on that platform, babe, you know I will. Come on, let's ride this train. Come on, let's ride this train. Now nothing is this rush of life, you'll never find its match. So you live to be a million years. All hearts are lost by default in the time of a single beat. We're leaving on the next train, babe. So take your seat.
All right, good evening, everybody. Today is October 23rd, 2023, 10/23/2023. So there we go. It's almost the end of the month, almost into November, snowbird season. So we got a special guest tonight, Bob Barber. We'll bring him on in a few minutes, and I forgot to turn my light on. Let me shine some light on the subject here. There we go. I said hello to everybody in here earlier on the lower thirds. I seen Chasco came in. How you doing, Chasco? And Bud Jamison, good to see you in here. So we're going to have Bob Barber on, and if you don't know who he is, he's from Hobby Laser Products. And I did a video on him back in January or February when I first saw him in Bradenton, and he was also at the Plant City train show, and I also did a video on him there, a little bit about what he was doing on there. So let's bring him on in 1 second, but you know what to do. You got to hit that like button so everything goes out to YouTube and into Rumble. So here we go. Smash that like button gently so we can get going with this thing right now. All right, there we go. Okay, here we go. Let's get Bob on here right now so we can all say hello to Bob. How you doing, Bob?
Hey, Tom. Good evening.
Good to see you. I'm glad you're finally on here.
Oh, yeah, I'm real excited. I've been waiting for this all week.
All right. Yeah, we've been playing around with this for a couple of days, trying to get things all squared away on here. And we finally got it. So I hope everything looks good. We got the bridges in the background. So you got to tell everybody about yourself. How did you get started with building these bridges?
Well, Tom, it's kind of like a long story. You know, as a kid, I had a fascination of building airplanes, trains, plastic models, and it just continued to build over the years. Okay, so I finally, when I got old enough, I got my first radio control airplane, and I wanted to do my own. So I started learning how to do the drawing. I got a hold of a CAD program back then. It was kind of crude back then because they just started coming out with computer software like that. But I started learning how to use it, and over time, I became very efficient in it, and I was able to make very accurate drawings. Now, these were airplanes, of course, in the beginning, and I had people used to come to me and ask me if I would draw airplanes for them, and I would. And they'd say, "Well, I need it this big," and they'd give me all the scaling information, and I just kept doing that for a long period of time. I wind up starting a laser cutting business about 10 years ago, and we were doing all kinds of custom model airplanes, and I was doing competition airplanes, and these guys were flying these things in contests all over the United States. So they wanted very precision airplanes. I had to build them to exact specifications, so that way they were very competitive. So I did that for quite a while. And after I did that, I moved on to other types of designs and buildings. I also had a background in architecture. I had gone to college, and I started out to be an architectural major. And after several years of that, I completed like 2 years of that, and I was drawing houses and detailing different houses and buildings. And a lot of experience doing that. And then I started doing a lot of work for college kids that were building scale model houses. They wanted me to cut the parts out for them so they can construct model houses. So this gave me a whole lot of experience in doing the design and the CAD work, and coming up with projects for them that they could present to their school or with their classes, that they had to have projects for their classes. After that, I had people come to me and say, "Hey, listen, have you ever thought about doing model trains?" And I said, "Not really. I didn't think about it, but I started looking into it." Okay, and I said, "Let me see what's out there." When I looked, I was interested in the bridge aspect of this, and I was looking at the bridges, and most of the ones I saw were plastic bridges, and they were all fixed in length, and you couldn't modify them. They were kind of hard to build from what I heard from other people. And I knew that there had to be some niche there for me to get involved with this. And that niche was coming up with scale model bridges that are customizable, that I could tailor and make them fit for different layouts. And that's what made this very unique. Some people come in and say, "Well, I need a bridge 36 inches long," but the ones that I saw are plastic were only 33 inches long, and I can't use it. Well, that's where I could come in there. I could come in there. I have all the engineering drawings of these bridges. I can make them a little bit longer and scale them to meet their requirements. And that's how I got started, basically.
All right, that's very, very interesting. Do you have your own model railroad?
Tom, I don't have my own model railroad, but I'd love to have one, okay? I've got so many projects going. Not only do I do this, I'm also involved in the music business, okay? My wife has a duo singing group, and I do the sound engineering for them, and they're quite busy. So between this and that, I almost have no time to build a model layout, but I'm putting it on the back burner. I'm going to build one day.
I understand that. I know a lot of people that build things for model railroads, but don't have model railroads themselves. Time is of the essence, and a lot of people just don't have the time to do it. And a lot of people can't see in the back of you, but behind those bridges is a chord chart for guitars. So can you talk a little bit about your experience with your guitar?
Oh, sure. Well, I might date myself here, but in the mid '60s, I was in a rock and roll band called Dr. T and the Undertakers, and it was a very popular group. We played in Miami. We had made 3 records that were local. They didn't go national on it, but I did have an opportunity to sign in with Decca Records back then, and everything was going well until one of the guys in the band got in an automobile accident, and that caused a whole bunch of problems for us, and I wound up losing the contract. But the good side was, we had a lot of fun. Okay, we did a lot of venues. I played the guitar. I've been a guitar player since I was a kid. I was taught by my grandfather how to play the guitar, and I still play it to this day. I've got 3 guitars right now, and I pick them up every once in a while and start banging on them and jamming a little bit with my friends. But right now I'm doing more of the sound engineering. I was lucky enough to have a friend who was a head engineer at Columbia Records, head audio engineer, and he's taken the time to go through all the mechanics of setting up these mixers and getting all the sound right. So, I take a lot of pride in getting that just right. Okay, it's very important to get the mixes right on these sound systems that we set up.
So your wife is the star now, huh?
Oh yeah, she's the star. I sit in the back. Nobody sees me when I'm controlling.
Nobody sees you now. Okay. Okay, I understand
Keep a low profile.
That's what happened to me a long time ago. I had the same issue. I ran the soundboard for a band because my wife didn't want me playing in the band because she didn't want me in front with all those women up there.
Yeah, well,
but
when
that
I
was
in
back
the
in
band,
the 70s.
yeah, when I was in the band, they gave me a plastic microphone to sing into.
Okay. So you say you can't sing.
No, not very well.
Okay. All right. So let's get back to the bridges here. I know a lot of people are afraid of building kits, but from what you were talking about and what you were showing me earlier, you go through a lot of different things. And I know you were having some trouble setting that up, but why don't you show what you have up on your screen about how you design your bridges and everything?
Yeah, I'm gonna. Can you guys see this yet? When I'm zooming in on this yet?
Okay, not yet. Toggle the screen capture.
Okay, hang on a second.
There you go. All right, you got it now.
Okay. What you're seeing now, this is the engineering drawings I did for the bridge that was sitting behind me. That's the Bahia Honda Bridge in the Florida Keys. What I do is, here's a picture. This is a picture of the real bridge right here. Okay? I've actually gone down to the Florida Keys and was able to make measurements off these bridges and use that as a basis for doing my design work here. Now, this bridge consisted of 27 segments like this. There's a centerpiece, and then there's these 2 pieces on the end over here. These are called a Pratt truss over here, and this is a camelback truss. So once I get the outline of the bridge itself, I usually start by getting the outline of the bridge right here as you see it and understanding it. And make sure that all the vertical girders are in place. So I go and I make sure I look at all the girders here and make sure that they're strategically placed in the right area. Now these bridges, a lot of the spans had different girders in between them. So I just selected a couple of the ones that you see here, but I have optional ones that you can put in there. A lot of times, here's some of the different girders here that I'd have in between right here, these curves right here that you see right here. Now what I do is I draw a profile of each side of the bridge like this. I draw one profile like this. Then I duplicate it and I have the second side here. Then I have to make all the attachment points for the other components of the bridge. There's a top, a bottom, and the left and right. So it's not hard to assemble. There's only 4 pieces to do the assembly of the main structure. But all the detail work is done on the internals here. You notice the girders in here. They all have lightning holes all within it, and they have all the structures. Now, when you put these together, there's a piece that goes on the end, and I'll show you that later on. I have a construction manual that I have that details exactly how to put these bridges together. It's very, very detailed, and it tells you exactly how to do this. And it even shows you where to put the glue and what tools to use. I also supply jigs with each kit. Like when you want to put this together, you slip the whole side into the jig. Actually, you slip both sides in the jig. That way, when you put in the top deck and the bottom deck, once you line them up, they're pretty much perfectly square. And I also have one for the ends. And once you put the ends on end, everything is square. Now, I don't glue anything right now. Nothing's been glued, okay? What I do is I use that blue masking tape, and I mask the whole thing together. I take it out of the jig, and I make sure that everything is perfectly square again, because if you're not square, you're going to have a problem later on. These particular tabs here you see at the bottom of each end of the bridge, these are going to go into the piers. Okay, so that way, if you look here at the pier designs, they fit into the piers. So you can take these things, and if you buy extra one of these trusses, you can just keep adding them on, and you put a pier on this end and add another structure. And you can make it as long as you want. Like I mentioned earlier, the real one was like 27 piers, and obviously this is not going to fit on very many layouts.
not on anybody's layout.
Not on anybody. But the good thing is you don't have to go with these dimensions. If you have a project where you only need to span a total of 36 inches, I could rescale these bridges so that way they'll fit on your layout. And that's where it becomes really handy. You don't have to, take what they give you. You don't have to buy a plastic kit and hope that the bridge is going to fit in the area you want, or you have to modify the structure that you want to put it in just so it'll fit. So that makes it very flexible, okay? You have a lot of different dimensions on here that tell you exactly how these things are going to look when it's done. Again, we'll show you some of the construction manuals at a later point here in this presentation, that you can see how these things are actually built, because everybody will get a booklet with it when you buy it, and it'll show you a picture of the real bridge up front, and then it'll give you a step-by-step instruction manual of how to put this thing together. The booklet I'm going to show is a description of Bessemer Erie, Lake Erie Bridge, and it had 8 spans. And you'll see how we approach the construction of this when we look at the manual later.
So if somebody wanted a custom bridge, all they had to do is if it was something that you didn't already build, can they send you a photo or tell you where it is, and you could research it, and they could tell you how long they need it, and you could work from that?
That's exactly right, Tom. what I usually do is I ask them for any engineering drawings, if they can find them, which sometimes it's not easy, photographs that have a profile view, like flat, so that way I can get a true look at the actual lines that are present on the real bridge. Once I have the actual length of the bridge, this might be 110 feet, let's say, on the real bridge, then I could put it into my CAD program, rescale the bridge, so that way this 110-foot bridge will now be represented in HO scale, N scale, or whatever scale I want. Okay, once I got that, then I could go in and start doing all the internals and making sure that everything is going to be exactly right.
So for right now, you're doing HO and N. Is that correct?
That's correct. With HO and N, and any custom designs that you may come up with.
Okay. All right. So I've seen somebody had a question, but I just as soon they wrote it down as soon as I asked it. So you already you already answered that question. All right. So yeah, I've already saw the drawings that you had, and I want to make a comment on it. Those were one of the best drawings that I have ever seen of any kit around. I know you was having a little bit of trouble pulling it up before. Do you think you might be able to pull it up?
Yeah, I'm going to try and pull it up right now. Let me close out this engineering
get rid of the
drawing.
program that has your drawings on it, and then pull up the other thing.
I'm going to pull up
And
the
see if you
construction
could
manual.
get it up there.
Let me get the screen sharing back on, Tom.
Okay.
Let's see what we got here.
And then Frank Steeler fan, he said, could you make a bridge given only the span, length, and type of bridge?
Are you talking about some custom design, not any real bridge that exists?
What do you say, Frank? Is that, you have any bridge in mind? Frank's from Pittsburgh, so so there's a lot of bridges in Pittsburgh. So he says curved bridges.
Can you see this?
Oh yeah, okay. Let me maximize that. Okay. All right, there you go.
Yeah, what you're looking at here, this is the construction manual for one of the bridges I talked about. This is the Bessemer Erie and Lake Erie Bridge.
Is that the one that's over the Allegheny River?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Now, I had a customer, all he had was photographs of this bridge. He said he wants it in HO scale, and it has to fit in a 16-foot space. So that was the challenge. Okay, so if you go to my website, you'll be able to see a little more detail here. But I'm going to go through the instruction manual right now, so that way you can get a feel for how we approach the building. Okay. One of the first things I do, I tell you about the recommended supplies you're going to need to build this bridge. In this case, I'm telling you to use Type Bond 3 Ultimate Wood Glue. And right here is a 3-letter code, TB3. When you see TB3 in the documentation later on, you'll know that we're talking about Type Bond 3. I also use this blue masking tape that you're probably very familiar with. But this tape does not have a high tack to it. So when you put it on the bridge, when you're securing pieces, when you take it off, it's not going to cause any contamination on the wood itself.
Is that the painter's tape?
Yes, it is. Painter's tape.
Okay, now you shared with me earlier the reason why you use that particular glue. Can you let everybody know
glue,
why?
Yeah, this glue is not only being an excellent adhesive, it dries brown. Okay, so when you're gluing these things together, it looks like welding that's been done on the bridge. It doesn't detract at all. You don't look at it and say, "Oh God, look at the glue stains over here." It looks like it's been welded. So that really enhances the look to it.
So all every one of you that's worried about glue seeping out, it's welds on here. It
Yeah.
blends in nicely.
Yeah, and Tom, I don't just take this bottle and squirt it on there.
Uh-huh.
I use these syringes down here, these glue syringes.
Mm-hmm.
These syringes have a long 5-inch, very thin tip that I put on it. I load it up with that Tight Bond 3, and I apply it very sparingly along the joint. Okay, so you're not going to get a lot of slop in there. Now, this glue is all water-based, so I always keep, a wet, damp rag available in case I get a little bit more than I want on it, so I could just take it off. Or I use a box of Q-tips. I have them very handy, and I'll just take the Q-tips and wipe them off. I use a lot of Q-tips because you never know how sometimes when you put a joint together, the glue will squirt out, and you need to clean it up a little bit. But once you clean it up,
those glue syringes, do you have a link for that? Do you have it actual? The link
yes,
for
I
it in
do,
the
Tom. I don't have
instructions?
it right in front of me right now, but I can certainly get it for you.
Okay, but when in your instruction booklet, do you have that in there or?
No, I don't have it in there, but maybe
Okay.
it should be added then to help
Yeah,
them out.
that would be a good idea to add that in
Yeah,
there,
I
so
think
they
that's a
wouldn't
good
have
idea.
to be searching around and maybe
Yeah.
get the wrong thing.
Yeah, a lot of these products you can get right at the hardware store, like this Elmer's wood filler here. I've used all kinds of wood filler. There's nothing better than this stuff right here. Let's say you have a very slight seam that you want to fill in a little bit. You just dab on a little of this stuff, let it dry up, and sand it out with maybe 220 sandpaper or 320 grit sandpaper like it here, and it just disappears. Another important tool here is these things, the drywall sanding blocks. When you're sanding the side of the bridge sometimes on the opposite side, the material has a very smooth side, which is the finished side, and on the other side is a textured side. It's not roughly textured, but it has a slight texture. What you want to do is, load up your sandpaper here and just gloss over it and take off the high spots, so that way you get a nice smooth finish on it.
So, what material do you use for your bridges?
The bridges that I originally started building, I was using light plywood. I had some samples back here, but since we're not online to these screens right now, I can't show them to you. But 1/8 inch plywood is what I used to build them out of. Now I use this Euca board. It's EUCABOARD. It has a very nice finish on it, and when you build the bridges, it looks just like steel. It has a steel look to it. And of course, if you decide you want to weather your bridge, I have techniques to show you how to do that. Okay, how to get a look of an old bridge from the 1900s that's a lot of rust on it. I'll show you how to finish it, how to paint it to get the look you're looking for. Now, going further on down through the instruction manual, I make a few notes over here. And I'm telling you that in this particular case, this bridge was 8 spans, and it says each span is built in a similar fashion. All the parts are laser cut and precision fit. The building sequence is accomplished by constructing a series of subassemblies, then assembling the subassemblies into the main structure. I mentioned here I use the blue masking tape to dry fit everything. And I also use the small spring clamps that were also shown in the up front of this document here. And then I make a note here about finishing here, telling you how to do some test samples on here. I talk about what to use to actually finish the model over here. I tell you what materials I use. I use a primer. Once I get all the cracks filled in that I feel like I want to do, I fill in any abnormalities. Okay, then I go into the construction phase. Like here's span number 1 on the bridge. I list all the parts and I list how many of each one there is. I also show the material that I use and what it looks like. Okay, here's the material with a shiny side out. Here's the back of the material before I sanded it. And here's when I did it with a light sanding to remove the high spots. So that's what the step is: 1, 2, 3. Now, I'm showing here, these are some of the girders that go into this particular bridge. And I'm telling you to lightly sand the girders on the top and the bottom here. So it points out where to sand it out here. I went after all the parts are sanded and secured with the glue, with the right material here. I mentioned here, do not glue. This says blue masking tape. That's what BMT means. When dry assembling, all the smooth parts are facing outward except the bottom girder plate. That you'd have to look further on where I have a description of that. I talk about the track platform, the track girder plates, and then the positioning of them there. And what to do here. The next step was to turn the assembly over with the bottom girder plates on top and lightly sanded side facing up. Okay, then I talk about dry fitting all the crisscross girders, making sure they're properly placed. And each step, again, details exactly what to do. And of course, there's drawings of everything here. Here's the actual pieces that you're going to get over here. Here's the front and rear girder plate. It shows you with arrows where they get inserted into each piece over here. Here's the end pieces. Now this girder plate fits behind this piece here, fits behind here to give you the effect of the girder plates. Same thing when I do the bottom girder plates. I show the crisscross girders. I show the actual girder plate itself, and these dotted lines represent these items right here where they get installed. I show you where to put the glue on here. Right there it says glue points on each one. Now this particular bridge has handrails on it. So the handrails also fit into a handrail base like this. Again, I show you apply your glue along this line, and this line here, and you insert it into this slot, as you see here. Whoops. Somehow a screen jumped to the...
Yeah, that happens to me a lot of times. It jumps all over the place.
Let me get back to where I was.
Yeah, there you go. There you go, to handrails.
There we go. Yeah, so it shows you where to put the glue on each panel over here. Now there's some trim strips that also go on here, and they also have to be installed at a certain point. That would be the end of building span 1. So then you get into span 2. Very similar technique. Okay, I show the spans. Okay, shows the girder plates. What you see here, these brown things you see here are actually the sides of the girders that go in here, right here. See these right here?
Yeah.
This is the internal girder represented right here. Now this girder, all the details is in the girder. You don't have to do anything other than take these two pieces and glue it to the ends. You got one on this side and one on this side. You make 7 of them, put them aside, let them dry. When they're all dry, you insert them into the structure, the bridge structure, in its position where they go. In this case, all the internal girders are exactly the same size, so it doesn't matter where you put them. Now those trim strips I showed you earlier, this drawing shows you where the trim strip goes, right along where you see that dotted line over here.
For those of you who have never done a kit before, these instructions here are 100% better than any kit that is available out there now from any manufacturer.
Yeah, you'll see here again, this is a different span. This is span number 3. I go to the same thing. You see here's the actual span itself, the left and right side, front and back side, the end plates that go on each end, and they all get plugged into the top girder plate, and then the track platform sits right on top of this. So it's kind of like a little sandwich here. Then you have the bottom girder plate. It's one piece over here with all these cross members added here. So basically what you'll do is you glue in these guys. Let me get to the right here. These girders here, these crisscross girders go in here. You notice there's a way of crisscrossing them. I cut a notch in them so you can cross them and they'll fit perfectly in here like this. So what I do is I lay this on a flat piece of surface. I glue in all the cross pieces like here and let it dry overnight because I don't want it to move when I insert it back on the main structure. So all you got to do later on, you pick up the whole entire piece and you insert it, in this case, on the bottom here, along the bottom of the bridge here. Now here's a picture of all the girders with the side pieces on each side. Now these side pieces actually get glued to the vertical girder on the actual side pieces on the inside, so you don't see any glue joints at all here. Okay, then again, you go into the next span, span 4. Identify all the parts over here. And then I do have some general construction steps in Appendix A here. Most of these bridges all follow the same basic pattern of how you put things together. The only difference is the different bridges that you're doing. They all have a front, they all have a back, they all have a top, and they all have an end. You just have to assemble them in the order that I show you. Same thing with the handrails. You build each set of handrails, and the handrails will sit on top of the bridge wherever they go, wherever they tell you to place them. And again, you just go through all these things step by step, span by span, and you get the same way of doing it. Some of them have more parts, others have less. In this particular bridge, the center section actually consists of two components. There's what I call a 7A and 7B piece. These two bridges, these two spans are quite long, so they had to be joined because you cannot cut that long of a piece on the laser. Now I have a big laser. It'll cut up to 40 inches in length, but sometimes something might be 42 inches, and I just have to break it apart. In this case, I had to break it apart, but also I use carbon fiber in between the spans to make sure the joints are very secure. Now, if you look here, this shows you how the carbon fiber goes in there. The actual girder plate itself has notches in it, like this. It also has tongue and groove places where you glue it together here and here, and then insert this carbon fiber strip in the middle of it, and you use epoxy to glue it in there. Once that's in there, it's very secure. You're not going to get any flexing in here, and it meets the objective of having the girders the right length.
So these instructions that you're showing, this is typical of everything that comes with the kit, every kit that you
Exactly.
sell.
Yes, every kit that I sell will have these complete instructions in them. And of course, I'm available. You know, if you have any questions or you're having a difficulty with something,
Oh yeah,
you
yeah.
don't understand something, I always have phone support. I'm not like some of these other guys that tell you, you know, we don't do phone support. I do phone support. I enjoy talking to people, and I could probably help you work through any issue you might have. Again, I make some stipulations here. I tell you that you should build on a flat building surface with the smooth side down. Take a minute to read all the instructions that follow, okay? I tell you about how to lightly sand again, and this is the general instructions. Like here, you can see there's the jigs here that I supply for making the girders. What you do is you actually slide the three pieces that I showed on the previous drawing into the jig so that everything is square here. And that way, when you glue it, you can glue it and make sure everything is perfectly square. So that way it fits perfectly in there. Now here's some different views of this particular bridge of how they look. See, you can see here the joiners here where I told you the carbon fiber goes in here.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
then there's another layer underneath that keeps it, you know, that actually the rail bed, I call it the rail bed. That's where you're actually going to mount your track. This is kind of a sub-assembly under there. Now here's the piece that had all those cross members in there.
Yeah.
What I usually do is I mount this thing upside down on the bridge. Now this is the rough side of the bottom of the bridge. This side is going to be flipped over when you're done so that you don't see the rough side, you're going to see the smooth side, but you'll be gluing in all those cross members right across these things right here. Again, these are very precision kits, and all the things are going to fit very snugly in here. Now here it is with the actual cross members installed here. You see how they go in there. But again, this thing has to be flipped over to assemble it on the rest of the bridge. Now here, I've shown it flipped over. It's got the bridge has been joined with the carbon fiber down at the bottom here. And I usually use a steel ruler when I'm doing this to make sure that these things are perfectly aligned when you put it together, when you're actually making the joints on these things. And again, identify at what point. When I say glue, I call out tight bond 3. Or when I call out external mending plates that need to be put in there, I do that. I show that in there. If you need to do other things, I tell you what tools to use when you're doing it. Again, if you notice, every one of these spans are all built very similar. You notice there's a top platform, a top girder plate, the left and right sides. Okay, so when you're all done, okay, you can make whatever piers you want. I could make the piers, but I found out that a lot of guys want to make their own piers. Okay, so what they do is they make the piers, and the piers, they make them wide enough at the top so that way each one of the spans actually rides on top of the pier. So that way they can connect them. Now, I could also design the piers if you like. If you know what the real piers look like, and I do, because I have the engineering drawings, I can actually draw up the real piers and do that for you. Some of my other piers, such my other bridges, such as the Bahia Honda Bridge, you can actually make the bridge go around a radius, okay? And the way that I do that is the piers themselves have angled connectors on them. So that way each connector, it might be like 30 degrees off. So that way when you put the bridges together, they're at a 30-degree angle where they join. And
So
then
you could go
I
around a
make
curve with them. Right.
Right, and then
Yeah,
I make
okay.
a piece to join the actual rail bed. So that way you have one smooth, continuous curve. Now again, you'd have to tell me, yeah, I got a 22-inch radius that I want to go around, and could you make the piers so that way I could do that?
Okay, going all the way back up to the top, you were showing the little applicators that you used.
Yes. Yeah, this is exactly what I think Tom was talking about. Okay, I use
you
these,
call them glue syringes. Okay, so that's actually a syringe with a long needle on it.
I actually have to purchase the needles separately. Okay.
Okay, so
I get most
those
of the
aren't
stuff from
pipettes.
Amazon. Right. You get the syringes. You might, when you buy them, you might get like a pack of 4,
Uh-huh.
and then you can buy these particular applicators. You can get different sizes and different diameter tips. I also have a whole set of stainless steel applicator tips
Okay.
with very minute sizes in case I have very small pieces that I want to glue. I also use these bamboo skewers.
Uh-huh.
These two are very good. They're long. They have a very sharp point on them. And if you put a little glue on it, you can dip the skewer into it and just put a pinpoint amount of glue somewhere. So that way you're not slopping it on all over the place.
Right, yeah.
It's very precision in where you're putting it.
Good
Sometimes
idea using those instead of
sometimes
yeah, they sell plastic ones for like 5 of them for about $6.
yeah. I usually buy them by the hundreds.
Yeah.
Another thing is the Q-tips. Okay, these are so invaluable. I mean, a lot of times, like I said, you glue it in here, you swipe it off, and then I have a damp rag and just clean it up. Or if I need to get something that's hard to reach, the Q-tips are perfect because I just reach in, go in there, and remove the glue where needed. And I mentioned earlier, very important here, these drywall sanding blocks.
Yeah, the sanding blocks, yeah.
You want to keep everything flat. You don't want to do it by hand, okay? Because your hand will not make a flat surface, no matter how hard you try. Okay, you're going to get a wavy finish, okay? But using this, you guarantee you're going to get a nice smooth finish. And when you're using a very fine sandpaper, you only have to do it very lightly. You don't get very aggressive with this stuff. You just lightly go over the part and remove the high points, okay? And this makes for a very nice tight fit on everything. I mentioned also the wood filler, okay? Like I said, if you have a seam that you feel like you need to fill in a little bit, this stuff is the best stuff I've ever used for doing that. It sands real easy, and it can do the job for filling it in. I also make use of some other material, and besides these glues, okay, when you want to finish some of this stuff, you might want to use something called a sanding sealer. I use a product called Def's Sanding Sealer.
Uh-huh.
If I know I'm going to paint it, I probably want to use a sanding sealer to make sure that you keep any moisture out of anything. Okay, so I use a spray can of this stuff. I had some over here behind where the bridge is. I put a picture of all those materials up here. Maybe when we switch back to that view later, I could get a close-up of it.
Okay.
But I use a Duplicolor filler primer I use a Def's lacquer sealer along with the Elmer's wood filler. Between those three things, I've done all the prep work. Okay, then when I go back and finish it, I always use a excuse me a water-based latex paint, an exterior latex paint. I spray it on, and I use very light coats when I spray it on. And once I got the finish on there, this is going to make a very, very durable finish on your bridge. The exterior paint is almost like a rubber-based paint. So once you apply it, it's not going to crack, or it's not going to peel, or not going to come off. Okay, so now you have a real nice, solid finish. And of course, you can have it mixed at your local paint store. I go down and use different brands of paint, but I like to use some specific brands, and you might want to use the one that you like the best to use. But I think you'll be very happy with the look of that flat paint. It looks really good. It's inexpensive. You could go and get a quart of it down at your local hardware store.
Uh-huh.
Or your paint store, wherever you pick up your supplies. And if you get a quart of this stuff, you could probably finish an awful lot of bridges.
Yeah, I think a lot of us do that. They will get the quart size from Home Depot or Lowe's for
I use
our colors on the
specifically,
railroad.
Yeah, I use Sherwin-Williams paint. I found out to be that an excellent paint.
Uh-huh.
To adhere to this. You might be able to use other brands. Some of the guys I've heard use Behr or other brands, and they get just as good of results out of it. But I kind of like the Sherwin-Williams.
Yeah, it depends on where you buy it from. You know, every store has their own brand.
Yeah. You might want to experiment a little bit. Take some pieces, scrap pieces, spray it on there, learn how to use it. I use one of those sprayers with what do they call them? These HVLP, high volume, low pressure spray guns.
Uh-huh.
And I do a very light mist coat on it, and I build up the coats. Like if I'm doing this bridge, if I wanted it to be brown, or I want to do a brown color on top of the bridge that's already brown, I would spray that bridge brown. Then if I want it to look like the bridge is rusting in places, I get some orange paint and do a very light mist in very strategic parts of the bridge to give it the effect of its rusting in places.
Oh, okay.
This gives a very nice look to it. I mean, it has a very scale look, because a lot of these bridges were built in the 1800s. Okay,
right.
If you want the look, if you want to duplicate the look of the bridge in a time period piece, you could do that. And I have all kinds of techniques that I've developed that I'm more than willing to share with anybody who wants some information of exactly how to do this.
You should have a little booklet with tips and tricks that goes along with your kits.
Yeah, that's probably a real good idea, Tom. Kind of consolidate some of this stuff down into a specific document that just drills down on a specific thing that you want to do, like finishing and things like that.
Yeah, here's a question for you. Has Bob considered car roadway bridges? Most model railroads also have roads, say something like the Brooklyn Bridge.
That's a good question. The bridge that I have behind me, the Bahia Honda Bridge, they actually built the overseas highway on top of that bridge in the Florida Keys.
Uh-huh.
I have already done the engineering drawings for that. Okay, so if that became an issue, I could actually provide that and build the car bridge on top of it. Now, I could do the same thing with any other bridge. If you have a photograph of the automobile bridge, I could superimpose that bridge on top of the railroad bridge to get that particular effect that you're looking for.
All right, that's good. Here's another Golden Gate Bridge and other monument bridges. Yeah,
Golden Gate Bridge. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I didn't
yeah, a
mean to
lot of the
interrupt you.
bridges that he had on the at the train show were well-known bridges in other countries.
Right. The Garabit Viaduct was a bridge that was in France. It was built by Gustav Eiffel, who built the Eiffel Tower, and it just had some very, very pleasing lines that I really liked. So I decided to do that bridge, and I have that bridge available right now in N scale and also in HO scale. But
Yeah,
it's a very high
I
arch
showed that
bridge.
on my video last week. When that you had that one
Yeah,
at the Plant City show.
yeah. And the same thing with the Fadiz Viaduct. That's another bridge that was done in France. At the time it was built in the early 1900s, it was the highest bridge in the world. I have that one also in HO and N scale. The HO one is quite large. It's over 11 feet long, and the piers are a good 3 feet high. So you better have a pretty good layout if you want that one.
That would go on a really big layout.
Well, these guys in these clubs, sometimes they have so much space, and they want to fill it up with
Yeah,
something. And some of these bridges will accommodate that.
yeah.
Now, I have a brand new bridge that I haven't shown anywhere yet. It's called the Pecos River Viaduct. That was done in Texas. Again, this bridge was built in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and it consisted of 18 piers, and it was approximately 2,000 feet long. But I've actually got all the engineering drawings done, and I built a prototype in HO scale already, which I haven't shown to anybody yet. But it's I'll be posting it out on the website very shortly. I'll be showing it.
Okay. So here's one of the models in O scale. He says, "Forget O scale, then, huh?" You could do he could do a small bridge in O scale.
On O scale, I could probably do it if the bridge isn't too big. Remember, I only have a 40-inch bed on the laser. If I have to break a component down to a couple of sections, I could probably do it. But that makes it a little more difficult to build because you might need 3 pieces to be assembled together and make sure they're perfectly flat to get the whole span correct. Can be done, it's doable, but it takes a little more effort to actually construct it.
Yeah, it's more pieces.
More pieces.
Yeah. All right.
And of course, more material.
You're right. More material. Yeah. And more cost.
More cost.
Yeah. Yeah. The bigger the scale, the more it costs.
Yeah, the cash register keeps ringing, Tom.
Yeah.
But I'm very aware of of model and hobbyists, and the money they have available.
Yeah. A lot
to
of us are
spend on
cheap.
stuff. I try to keep things, at a reasonable rate. Okay, I'm a hobbyist myself, and I know, like some guys just can't afford to spend, $300 or $400 on something, and come up with something. So I don't charge like CAD time or computer time to build these bridges. If I had to do that, I'd have no customers because computer time and CAD time is very expensive.
Yeah. I can imagine.
To draw this stuff up, you price yourself right out of this market.
Right. Right.
So I'm sensitive to the modeler's needs. Okay, when I went into this, I said I'm not going to do that. When I give you a price, I'm going to give you a flat rate for what's going to cost you here. I'm not going to say 10 hours of laser time at $50 an hour. That don't work. Okay.
Yeah.
And if I go over, sorry, I gotta jack it up. That don't do it. I'd rather put something up front. You know what you're going to spend. It ain't going to be no more nor less than what I said. And this way you feel comfortable with it. I always supply you online CAD drawings to the customer to look at it while I'm building it. Okay, what I do is that engineering drawing I showed you.
Yeah.
I can put the engineering drawing out on the internet in a special web browser presentation that you'll be able to see the bridge exactly like you saw it here. And you could go in there. There's tools in the actual software that you can go in and measure the bridge, and you can see how long it is. You can see how wide it may be, how big the girders are, how far the bridge is above the water line. It has all kinds of tools to look at it. Okay, and I usually do this before I even start construction, so you can look at it. You feel good about what you're seeing. You might say to me, "Hey, Bob, I need to have that span another 2 inches longer." Okay, so that's how I work with the customization on some of this stuff. I give you a lot of flexibility in how you want to actually put this thing together.
Well, you give the model railroader a hell of a lot more than other manufacturers do. I could say that.
Yeah, I made a mission, when I did this, and part of the mission was just the things we just described. Don't let them build a model that's a certain size that they have to stuff into their layout somehow. Okay, make the thing so it's useful for them. If it needs a little more length, put it in there. Okay, it's not going to affect the look of the bridge. If I had to add 2 inches to this bridge, nobody's going to know that this thing is 2 inches bigger than the real one. You know what I mean? It's not that noticeable. You're just not going to see it.
Yeah, you got Reggie hooked. He's just starting to build buildings, and he's doing pretty good at it. So he's moving his layout. So he might be getting a bridge pretty soon.
Love to get involved with him.
Yeah.
The key is to get involved early, okay? Because I have to schedule everything, okay? I get a lot of requests for customization of bridges, and I want to put it on a schedule so that way you know when your turn is coming up and when to expect, the finished product to be there. As I mentioned earlier, it takes me 2 or 3 days, maybe up to a week to do the engineering drawings, depending on the complexity of it. Okay, actually cutting the bridge and doing that on the laser is not a big deal. If there's a lot of parts, it might take 2 or 3 days, but usually not more than that.
Mm-hmm.
But I can also assemble these bridges for you. Now, if you say, can you put this together for me? I go, yeah, of course. I could build the spans for you. I won't finish them because I think that, you probably want to finish it the way you want it. You might want to paint it the way you want it, and you want it to have a look that you want to weather it a certain way, and I'll let you do that.
Yeah, Michael Brandt says product looks great and maybe not a novice built, but with those instructions, it could be easy. Yeah, I would say even Curtis C&L Lines would be able to build your bridge. He's watching over on Rumble, and he's a little leery about building anything laser cut. That Erie bridge that I told you, the Bessemer Erie bridge that I built for the guy. Yeah,
I built. He wanted the spans, the center span built for him, so I built the center span and I sent it to him via UPS. Okay, when he got it, the bridge was all destroyed. So I kind of stay away from sending them through UPS. I even insured it. I insured it for $500. Luckily, I did that. I was able to get reimbursed for everything.
Oh, wow. But I think he was on this show a couple of weeks ago saying that you made the kit for him.
Yeah, I built the kit for him, but he also said, "Can you send me the actual kits for these things?" So I did. I sent him the actual kits. He got the 8-span kit. I sent him all the parts so he could assemble it himself.
Uh-huh.
But again, he had those complete instructions, and of course he has me to advise him on anything, and he's gonna build it himself. Now, he didn't want me to make the piers as seen in the real bridge. He says that he's had a group of guys who are all going to go down to see this Bessemer Lake Erie Bridge in person. It's in Pittsburgh, and they were only a couple hours away. So we got about 3-4 of his guys together, and we went down to see the bridge, and they actually took photographs of the piers and kind of like wanted them designed exactly like what they saw.
Yeah.
I have a set of piers that I designed based on my observations of this. They look pretty good. I even have all the railings in over here. But I've never seen the bridge in person, so I don't know all the intimate details that might be on the piers that I might have missed. So if he sent me the photos, obviously I could recreate them and have them looking very, very close to the real ones.
All right. So how do people order your bridges?
Well, this is what I usually do, okay? If you want a kit right off the website with no modifications at all, just the way you see it, it's the price you'll see on the website, which is not published right now. But I did put out a price list at the show that I would offer these kits that I mentioned on that list up until the end of November. Now, if you want customization going beyond what I have at the base kit, then I go back and I have to reevaluate everything you're asking for and then come back with pricing to do those modifications that you want.
Okay, you were saying something about the price list that you gave me, that you would honor those prices till the end of November?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, all right.
I think I might have had about 10 bridges on there, Tom. Is that about right? I don't have it in front of me.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 bridges.
Yeah, I also have that new N scale one on here that I didn't have before.
Yeah, you got the
Yeah.
Hellgate Bridge and N scale, the Garabit Viaduct and N scale, Monaco Beaver Bridge
Yeah.
and N scale, and also an HO scale, the Mohawka Viaduct and HO scale, Fadas Viaduct and N scale, and HO scale, Beach Wichita Bridge. I don't know if that's the right.
It's a mouthful, huh?
Yeah.
The Bishotol.
Yeah, and HO, and single track and double track, and
Right.
Bahia Honda Bridge.
That's one thing I didn't mention earlier. Sometimes I could. Some people want to have a double track on a bridge that was designed as single track. I can modify the bridge to handle a double track. Now, the Hellgate Bridge is very unique in that that'll accommodate 4 tracks. The original bridge had 4 tracks that had several tracks that were dedicated to passenger trains and a couple for freight, strictly freight on there. Then they reconfigured the bridge. I think right now it has 3 tracks on it, 2 passenger rails and 1 freight rail.
That was an awesome looking bridge. You had that at Plant City.
Yeah. And all the bridges, if you look at the bridges itself, the actual rail bed, they slide out. Okay, so you can slide the rail bed out, mount your track on there, and slide it back in. So you're not trying to do this in between girders. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
I try and make it easy for you, so that way all you got to do is connect the actual rail beds where they join. Okay, you might just have to put a couple of rail joiners in there, but for the most part, you slide the whole thing out, mount your rails, and join them up when you slide them back in.
Okay, so do you have this price list up on your website?
This is not there yet, but I will post it.
Okay, and his
I have a section up here. I have a section on the website that has not been published yet.
Okay.
It goes in there. What it does is it has all the options. Like if you build the Bahia Honda bridge, it'll
Uh-huh.
show you the base kit. It'll have the price of the base kit, which in this case it might be $179. If you only want the center section of the saddleback truss, you can buy just the truss. It'll have a price for the truss.
Okay.
If you want the outboard girders, bridges there, it has a price for that on it. So it's taken me a little time to do that because there's a little more work to get the price list out there before I publish them. The same thing with any of the other bridges. If you only need certain components, like you only need piers, okay, then I have a pricing just for the piers. Let's say you have a panel that you damaged, during construction or something. You just let me know, and I'll identify the part for you, and I'll send a piece out to you. And I usually just charge you for the material cost on that.
Uh-huh.
If it costs $15 to buy the material, that's it, plus whatever the shipping would be. So I never leave you hanging, okay? You always can get a part or a piece that you need. And again, if you have somebody damages it, your piece on your site, I can always send you replacement parts for you so you can fix it.
Oh, okay. So I just put a link to your website up in the chat, and I think I have it in the description of the live stream also.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Frank says, has he ever modeled one of those old wooden bridges?
Yes, I have. Okay, that's the one with a whole bunch of looks like, I'm not going to say 4x4s, but they're probably 12x12s. There's a lot of sticks. Okay, so it would be a lot of construction work. If you're not into building something very detailed, it's going to be a little complicated for you. But again, I do templates on them to help you do that. But like I said, I think they're kind of complicated, and most people don't want to do that level of detail. But I can do it if you have one you want.
Uh-huh. So, Frank, are you talking about the old wooden trestles? Is that the one you're talking about, Frank?
Exactly. Yes, that's exactly right.
That's probably what he's talking about. Yeah, there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I looked into them in old Campbell scale models, and they look a little bit different, difficult to build.
They look great.
They look great, but they're hard to build.
Yeah, they're hard to build, but like I said, you build basically, like you say, if it's an A-frame structure, you could build the A-frame part of it, and then all the cross members have to be made individually,
right,
and glued to the frame.
Yeah, if you have a jig for the A-frame, the basic part that goes underneath the track, you could just extend the verticals to follow it all the way down to your contour, the scenery.
Yeah, exactly. But, you don't get too many calls for people wanting to do that, but I can do it if you want it.
Okay. I'm sure there's some people out there that would want to tackle that. Not very many.
Yeah. You see, I would myself, if I want to tackle that thing. I'd love to do that. I've always loved building models. I mean, since I was a kid, man, my parents used to buy me all kinds of models, and everything from airplanes and boats and cars and all kinds of models. Okay. When I was a really young kid, my mother used to buy me these erector sets.
Uh-huh.
And I used to sit for hours with them putting together, these things with screws and bolts and building all kinds of structures with it and putting electric motors in there and causing things to move around. So I got really indoctrinated to this. Yeah. And I just kept building on stuff that I've done, until I got to, doing these very advanced type of work. And, I get a lot of satisfaction, doing stuff like this, like coming up with something that's really complicated and making it easy. That's the challenge here.
Yeah, a lot of
is,
people don't
making-
understand that. It feels good to build something that's hard to build.
Yeah. Now, on my website, if you look at the very beginning somewhere, there's a video page on it.
Uh-huh.
And on it, there's a picture of a 20-foot layout that I just completed about a month ago. It's an elevated platform with bridges on top. Okay, this was when this
Box
fella
rail elevated platform?
this box rail, yeah.
Okay.
When this gentleman contacted me, he said, "I got this idea. I want this build this elevated frame, but I haven't a clue where to start." I told him, "I'll tell you what. Tell me where you live." He's local here, and where I live in my town, in Bradenton, Florida.
Uh-huh.
I went over there. First thing I noticed is this guy lives in a trailer park. Okay,
Oh.
I said, "How the heck is this guy going to build in a trailer park?" Then I noticed he had this big lanai. Okay, if you look at this right here, this video here, right? This is a picture of this bridge. I don't know. Does that thing play, Tom? I don't know. See, look at
This
that.
one right here?
Yeah,
Can you see that
that's
up on
the
the screen?
elevated bridge itself that
Yeah.
I built for him. He had no idea where to start.
Uh-huh.
He has this layout. He has is over 20 feet long, going from left to right. And like I said, he built this huge room. He has a big video monitor. Oh, did I mess you up there? Did I mess you up there, Tom?
No, I took it off. All right.
Oh, okay. He had a big video monitor up there with a real-time monitor of all these different railroad bridges around the country in real time. As you can see, the real trains coming in, crossing these bridges. It was fascinating. But it was a lot of fun to do this. And, like I said, he didn't have a clue. He didn't know where to start. So I went down there. I brought my ruler with me, my tape, and I looked at his layout. I measured his existing layout. He had built a platform for the base. I think he has like 6 or 7 lines running underneath. And I measured all the dimensions on it.
Uh-huh.
So I had a pretty good idea of where the endpoints were going to be for everything. Once I understood that, I went back to the CAD drawings, and then I asked him, "What are the radius of the turns that you want?" So I got all the radius. I think most of them were 22 inches. Okay, so then I did is I laid out the whole bridge with all the turns in it, all the correct radiuses. I superimposed them on top of his existing layout. Okay, and then I built the individual segments. Now, the bridge itself was made up of 22 segments, and each segment had a tongue and groove connection on it. But before I actually cut the parts, I made templates, paper templates of the bridges. I go over his place, and I bring the templates with me. I might have done 3 or 4 templates. I bring it over there, and he would lay the templates down on the existing bridge, so that way he gets a feel for how it's going to look.
Uh-huh.
Until I did the entire bridge. Okay, I did the entire bridge, all 20 feet of it. I had the whole thing laid out in templates. The next thing was, how high do you want to make this thing? Okay, so we determined he already had a back level that was already built. He had it for something. I wasn't using it for anything except for storing junk up on top of his layout out there. So I told him, "Hey, we could make that part of the layout. Okay, I could put track up there, and we could make that into the existing structure that we're going to build underneath it." So that's the way we got a dimension. Now we got the dimension to find out how high we had to build the piers underneath. Actually, the girders on this one. It wasn't piers. They were girders. Now he had, like I said, 6 main lines underneath, and a lot of track going through all over the place. So I had to make it so that way you could step over the rails and not bump into anything when you build the.
Yeah, I
the
could see
structure
how
underneath.
complicated it looks just from the
Yeah, if you look
steel
at
the
the drawings,
thumbnails
you'll
on
see.
here.
NS has curved sections of the bridge here. What does NS stand for?
Norfolk Southern.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, curved section of the bridge here leading to the bridge crossing the Ohio River at Brunotsalem.
Yeah.
That's Pittsburgh again.
Hmm.
They got a lot of bridges.
Oh, yeah. You have a ball of building bridges in Pittsburgh,
Yeah, oh yeah.
in that area.
They said Bob must have one fantastic studio workshop.
Let me tell you something. I have a 3-car garage, and I also have an external garage that's 40 by 30.
Uh-huh.
So I have a tremendous amount of space. The only trouble is my wife complains that she can't park the car in the garage anymore. I can't help it. I said, I got all this stuff. I don't know where to put it. So, the cars sit outside now. But
Well, that's what happens in Florida. Cars sit outside and you use the garage for something else.
yeah, unfortunately, we don't have basements in here,
Uh-huh.
so that's out of the question. But yeah, they don't allow you to put up any temporary structures to hold stuff.
Yeah.
But I had built this large garage. I used to have a very large fishing boat that I needed room for, and the thing's like 40 feet long. The garage is 40 feet long by 25 deep, 18 feet high. So I could put an awful lot of stuff in there. Right now, I got a couple of big airplanes sitting in there that I built, along with another airplane I have in my primary garage that's sitting right in the middle of my bridge designs. I got to get rid of that because it's taking up too much space.
You have too many hobbies.
Too many projects going on there. I got to get rid of them. I'm sure a lot of guys have the same issue. Where do I put all this stuff?
Yeah. You need a bigger garage. You need a bigger shed.
Yeah.
A new shed.
And also, I have to make some of these bridges so they break down, and you don't have to have them one big long piece. Okay, like I have that Fidesz bridge from France. The HO scale bridge is 11 feet now. I'm going to redesign it so that way it breaks down into several segments, so that way you can put it together and not have to be concerned with, handling 11-foot bridge in one piece. And maybe you could make it and eliminate one of the sections so it's not quite as long.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
I know you had the Monaca Beaver Bridge in N scale there. The full thing that was 8 foot long,
right.
And then down a little bit further, you only had half of it in HO scale because you didn't have enough
It was
table
too big.
space.
I already had 3 tables I bought to buy another table just for that bridge.
So the HO one would have been 16 foot long.
Exactly.
That's a big bridge.
Yeah. Those things are kind of like the big ones are geared more for club bridges, where they want to fill up a pretty large space, and they need something that's a showpiece for their layout.
Yeah.
And these things are showpieces for them. Once you put something in there like that, the people come in and go, "Wow, that is some piece of equipment that they're going over," and they really enjoy that kind of stuff. Then again, you need the smaller layouts, the smaller scales for the home hobbyists. We do that, and we try to accommodate them that way.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more people that would want the smaller bridges than the 16-foot long bridges. I mean, the 16-foot long ones are impressive. I mean, that would be nice to show off. Maybe in maybe in the living room. I might have to talk to Debbie or in the family room. She just took over some area in the family room.
Yeah, that N scale
I have to
was
reclaim some.
nice against the. Your wife likes N scale, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
she
take
likes
that
N
N
scale. Yeah.
scale. You take that Bessemer Lake Erie Bridge and N scale and mount it on the wall. You
Well,
have something that
she
people
has a
come in and they can talk
she has a
about it.
5x8 in the one corner, but the whole family room is about 24 foot long, so we could probably put a pretty long bridge on one side of the family room. I'll
Oh,
have to talk
jeez.
her into it.
Well, I can make that happen for you.
I
I
hope
don't
she
want to get you in trouble though,
I
Tom.
hope she's not listening. she I think she's on her computer with her headphones on. She's not
Is that
listening
right?
right now.
Oh, gee. She's getting ready to hit the X in the upper right hand corner of the screen and blow me away.
Yeah. Oh boy. Okay, so do you have any plans for any train shows in the future?
Well, I had a couple of people approach me at the Plant City. On one of the gentlemen, I think he's on your live chat here today.
Yeah,
He's over
Andy
in
Zimmerman was in the chat
yeah,
earlier. I
Andy.
don't know if he's still in here,
Andy,
but he
Andy talked to me. He said he had a show going on in Tallahassee, I
Tallahassee.
believe, right,
Yeah.
Andy?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Now, I was thinking about that. I might be able to do that.
That's a
Okay.
pretty
I
it's a
just
pretty
want to
good
make sure that
show.
there's enough interest in
Yeah,
that. You know.
there's not a lot of hobby shops up in the Tallahassee area, so there's a lot of modelers up there that
Hmm.
need items. So it might be
Yeah.
a good place to go.
Yeah. Andy, you can contact me. Send me an email, or I think my phone number is on the business card if you want to discuss some of that stuff. We could talk about that. And see if I could put together a plan to go up there.
Yeah, and I know we discussed, I told you a little bit about Amherst, and I know that would be kind of a stretch for you to get up there, but it might be a good idea one of these years to go up there, take some small bridges, not the big ones,
Hmm.
and get exposed up there because that's one of the biggest ones in the country.
I think that would be a good idea. Okay. It's coming up in January, right? It's got a
Yeah, they
couple
have
of
it
months.
every January.
Yeah. It's probably going to take a couple of days to make that trip. I think in
Yeah,
Florida, was it take at least 2 days to drive up there,
yeah,
spend the night, one night, and then if the show's 1 or 2 days, and then coming back home
oh yeah,
and actually renting a trailer to take all this stuff. It's quite expensive, but like I said, if the need is there, and I see that the interest is there,
yeah,
I'm willing to do it.
yeah. And Andy Zimmerman's still in the chat. I just seen him pop in here. He says he has your card.
Okay, good.
All right.
Yeah, he can give me a buzz if he wants to talk a little bit about it.
All right. And Chris Ruggieri says his neck of the woods. All right. Yeah,
My chat
Amherst
room
would
would
be a
disappear, Tom.
blowout for him. That's right. Yeah, I think 5 buildings. All right. So that's a pretty big show. So Andy, is that a 2-day show? I can't remember if it was a 1-day show or a 2-day show. I think it's a 2-day show. Imagine 2 giant helixes at each end of the room with a walk-under bridge connecting. Hey, don't give Debbie any ideas. Yes, they said it. Yes, it's a 2-day show. Okay, so that would probably be
Cool.
worth it. Get a lot of
Yeah.
exposure. A lot of manufacturers go up there. A lot of modelers from all over go
Yeah,
up
that
to
would
Amherst.
That would be definitely something to consider.
Yeah. One of these days I'll make it up there too. If I could talk Debbie into it.
Maybe we all could go together.
That'd be a good idea. Okay, so I think that's all the questions I have. Does anybody in the chat have any other questions? I think I put it up here in the chat, all the ones that I seen so far. So if you have any questions, now's the time to ask them. Oh, Andy says he'll be there too. Okay, so Andy will be up in Amherst in January. All right.
Yeah, and they can always email me with questions if they have some something they think of later.
Yeah, and let me
And
see.
like I said, if you
email
wanna-
is bobbarber1@verizon.net.
Right. If they want to chat with me in person, that's fine. Just dial up on the phone, and we can talk about anything you want to talk about.
Okay. Yeah, I think in the description of this video, I put your phone number in there also. So give them a call if you have any questions or want to chat about anything.
Sounds good.
I don't see anybody asking any other questions. So did you remember how to get it back, toggle off that and get your camera back on?
My camera's off. My camera's off.
No, you can't. But you have your screen. Yeah, your camera's on, but you have your screen up on the deal right now.
The one with the. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, you just click on that thing.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering which one it was. I got it.
Yeah, the screen share. You just toggle off, and then it'll bring your camera back up.
Screen share.
Okay, there you go. Okay, that's what Bob looks like. You've been looking at his drawings all night. So,
if you look in the background here, Tom, you can see some of the products I use here. Let's see if I could get a little better picture of it here. See, there's some of the finishing materials. This is the primers. This is the sanding sealer. That's the glue. That's the filler.
Here, let me get it. Let me get a bigger shot of it right there. Okay, there we go. So what are the two bridges there? I know that the small one is an N scale one. That's the one you were holding
That's
up.
the Bishotal Bridge. Yeah, N scale. And the ones in the back are the Bahia Honda and the Florida Keys.
Okay. All right. And so what is the price of the whatever it is, Honda Bridge?
Okay, the small one here this is the one that was a $99 special at the show.
Okay, the short one in the front, yeah. That's N scale.
Yeah, and the Bahia Honda Bridge you see in the back, HO scale was $179.
Okay, and how long is that one?
These spans here are 25 on each end, and these are, I believe it's 34 inches. Let me pull something up here and I may be able to get you exactly. 1 second.
See you later, Reggie. Thanks for stopping in. Don't forget to order when you get moved. Oh, Frank got the calculator out. He said 84 inches total.
Yeah, the center span's about 33 inches, 34 inches.
Okay, 33. All right.
And the end ones are 25.
Okay.
But like I said, you can order just this piece. And if you want a short piece, you don't have to order the whole bridge.
Okay.
you'll get this and 2 piers.
So you don't have a price for just the one section, the center section? Do you have a price?
Yes,
on
I do. But I think I mentioned earlier, I just haven't published them yet.
Okay. All
But
right.
if I recall, the center section was $70,
Uh-huh.
and the end pieces were $60.
Okay. All right. Good deal. All right. So I don't see any other questions up here. Rick says, thanks so much for having Bob on the channel tonight. This is going. Okay, Frank says, is that the single or double track on that bridge?
The N scale one is a double track, and the bridge in the back, Bahia Hunt, is a single track.
Okay.
But you can make it into a double track.
Okay, so you just if you want it as a double track, just ask him and he'll do it for you.
Right. Yep.
Okay, good deal. To cost me a lot of money. There you go. Okay, that's a continuation. Okay. For having Bob on, this is going to cost a lot of money. So it's in 3 different chats. There you go. And Easy Bud says, I learned a lot. Thank you both for this show. All right. So I hope you get some business out of this. I'm sure you will. Let me put this back on over here. And I really appreciate you coming on. And
Yeah, and I really appreciate you having me on your show tonight, Tom. I really
sure,
enjoyed
no
it.
problem. Ken Amos.
And like I said, I welcome any phone calls from anybody who wants to chat a little bit and talk a little bit about maybe some special project they have. One thing I haven't mentioned, but I do want to mention now is I've also had some requests to do train stations, and I've looked into that, and I have a couple that I want to build. One of them that I'm certain I'm going to build is the Orlando train station. If you check on the internet, you can get an idea what it looks like. Also, if you have a station that you like, or you see one you like, send me the photograph, and I can do all the CAD drawing on that and come up with a project for you.
There you go. Rick Allen says, Bob, I'll be contacting you this week. There you go.
Sounds good.
Oh, boy. All right. Let me grab this thing off of here. Well, I want to thank you for coming in here and sharing everything that you know about bridges and modeling. Really appreciate it. I learned a few things. I'm sure other people learned a lot on here also.
Well, good. I'm glad you got that information. And like I said, I enjoy sharing my information. I don't try to hide anything or do things that I don't want people to know about. I just lay it all out there.
Uh-huh.
This is a hobby. It's to be enjoyed by everybody to the fullest.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't want to strap people with high pricing and situations where it becomes difficult to do. I like something, but I can't do it because I can't afford it.
Yeah.
So that's why I had to go to this material. I mean, I can't double these prices and feel comfortable with it.
Right.
And it just doesn't make sense.
Frank just says, just measured the gap between my mountains is 80 inches. I'll be in touch too. So,
okay, buddy.
all right.
Maybe we could stick that Garafit in there.
And
Show me a
can't
picture
even
of that,
gotta show
Tom.
the finished product, Frank. Yeah, there you go. All right, good deal. So I got to do one thing on here before I close this out. It's almost 10. We went almost, well, an hour and 45 minutes already. I got to thank all my subscribers and the people who support this channel. I got to put up my little minute and a half thing on there. Okay, here's one question Rick Allen has. How does the material hold up long term?
The material holds up extremely well. Some of these bridges are over a year old and show no signs of wear at all. If you want to be extra secure, I use a light coat of sanding sealer on the back side of it, okay, the side that's textured. I have a spray can of this depth sanding sealer. Just put 2 coats of that, and you won't get any moisture in there at all. Okay, like I said, if you're in an environment where there is moisture,
that's the key to keep the moisture out of it. Yeah.
Yeah. But I have shown no signs of anything warping or deteriorating or getting waterlogged or any of that stuff.
Oh, okay. Here, on Rumble, I didn't notice it. Rob over there said, would be neat to see one built as a lift bridge or bascule bridge.
You know, I was looking at one of them lift bridges. Okay. The only issue I have is putting the motors in. I don't know how we do that. Okay. To lift it up, doesn't mean it can be done, but I'm gonna have to put my thinking cap on to do that.
Yeah, there you go.
Maybe,
I was thinking about
maybe a little manual crank on it
I
or
was
something.
doing a lift bridge over here between, in a walkway, because that would be something else.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people have, areas where, you have to cut through and walk, and they have a problem with lift out bridges and lift out areas or drop down bridges. That would be an excellent idea of how to build something like that where you could make it easy for somebody.
Yeah. I had a couple of requests for roundhouses. They said some of these plastic kits, they only have 3 bays in them.
Right.
But I was looking to build one with 10 bays in it. But again, the challenge here is coming up with the stepper motors to stop at every place. I'm sure they got some kind of electronics. I just haven't found them yet.
Oh yeah, DCCEX has the step. You could use a stepper motor and stop it exactly where you want it.
Okay, so that would be the solution for that.
Yeah, I had a guy on here about 3 years ago who designed. It was in plastic. He did 3D printed in plastic, and he had the stepper motor for the not the roundhouse, but the turntable and everything.
Mm-hmm. Well, I did a lot of research into 3D printing too. Okay, and my son is big into that 3D printing. He has a 3D printer in his facility, but it takes forever to make a part. Okay, I'm talking hours and hours to make one part. Now, I built a 9-cylinder Lerone engine for my half-scale Newport 11 that I have. I have a 12-foot wingspan on this airplane, and I needed the Lerone motor for it. So I had a buddy of mine that had a 3D printer that could handle, the larger parts. So I told him, here, make these for me. I said, how long is it going to take? And he says, 3 months. I go, what? 3 months? I thought it'd be like, maybe a week or 2. No, he says, the printer is so slow. And if you ever worked with these 3D printers, it comes with a big spool. Well, it doesn't come with it. You've got to buy it. A spool of material. Okay, and it's it's about a 16th of an inch in diameter. It's round, and you put it into this 3D printer. It goes into the print head, and the way it works, as it goes back and forth over the image, it lays down maybe a 32nd of an inch of material, and it comes back again and it lays another 32nd inch on.
Yeah, we
and it
got a couple of people
back.
in the chat to do 3D printing on here. My younger son has a lift bridge 15 miles from his house and a bascule about 20 miles away. They know where to find me when we visit. Okay, all right.
Hey, tell them to send pictures of it. Let me look at it. Maybe we can do something.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, newer printers are much quicker and they do finer prints than just 2 years ago. All right. Jim says, I have 2 filament 3D printers and a resin printer. Yeah, Jim does a lot of 3D printing.
How long does it take to do something? Let's say, how about one of those piers? What do you think it would take to do something like that?
I think he did an elevated section of his railroad.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how long it took him to do it, but he did each section plus the verticals.
Yeah, you have to do like in segments.
Yeah, yeah.
And put it together like a kit. The only thing I found out about some of these things is they're not as accurate or tight fitting as a laser cut. Okay, when you cast this thing and you try to put them together, sometimes they don't fit exactly how you want them to fit.
Uh-huh.
Now that might be because it's a low end 3D printer. I don't know. Maybe the higher end ones do a better job, but the only ones I've ever seen was on these lower end machines. A couple $100.
Uh-huh.
But
Canada says, I do piers in resin much quicker and then beams in filament. All right.
Yes, obviously he's having a little better luck with that, with the equipment he has. But a lot of guys, don't have those high quality printers that you're talking about.
Okay. Here he goes. He said 2 weeks for the elevated reel system over 50 foot long.
Okay, is that for the piers themselves?
The piers and the bridge sections.
Okay.
So is that on just one printer or on multiple printers, Jim? Depends on the model, but I resin printed a bridge in 5 hours that was highly detailed. Okay, that was in N scale. All right. Jim says in both. Okay, so he had only one at a time. Okay. All right. Good deal. So that was one printer at a time.
Let me ask you something else. If you have some type of problem that interrupts the printing, can you restart it, or do you got to start over again?
I'm sure you got to have a battery backup.
Well, that's one of the problems I've seen. I was told from people who have experience that if you have a glitch, a power spike,
Uh-huh.
a flicker, you got to start over.
Yeah, if it's resin and filament, then separate printers.
Oh, okay. So is he telling me he's printing separate printers to do this then?
Well, that's Andy.
Not one. He doesn't.
Okay. Yeah, Jim says yes. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Yeah, it depends on the printer if you have battery backup. Yeah, the bad battery backup is probably a must on that.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, you invest 2 or 3 hours in a bridge casting or a pier, and you
Yeah,
don't want to lose that.
yeah, especially with Duke
But
Energy, all
again,
their
that's another
fluctuations.
expense. You got to buy a UPS system. It's only money, right?
Yeah, there you go. And
Only
time.
money. What the hell?
All right.
Well, that's one thing good about the laser I have. I don't know how other people's lasers are, but my laser, if I get a power failure, thing drops out. When it comes back up, it knows exactly where to pick up where it left
Oh,
off.
really? Oh,
So
okay. That's
I
good.
don't have a material waste on it.
Yeah.
You know, and very little maintenance on my laser. Once a week I clean it. I clean all the rails down. I have like a bunch of rails, a bunch of slots that maybe by 10 or 15 slots in there. And I have a cleaner. I just put it on a rag and I run it back and forth. It takes all the resin off of it. And then I just have to clean the lens off. That's
Uh-huh.
not a big deal either. I just take the lens out, I clean it off with denatured alcohol, put it back in, and it's all straightened out.
Yeah, Jim says his FDM printers have a memory that allows to resume if the power is interrupted.
Yeah, that's what I have on the laser. Same type of situation. That's great. That way you don't lose all the time you put in on something like that or the material. I mean, it can get very, very frustrating if you're losing stuff because of the power going out on you.
So do you have to keep watch on while you're doing the laser cuts?
Oh, let me tell you about that. So I got a little story about that one.
You
Okay,
had some
when I,
fires?
when I had that laser business, it was called Precision Laser. I had a business partner, and we had a storefront where we actually did this laser cutting. Okay, so I was cutting some acrylic in the back. We had the laser in the back. It was a pretty big laser, a little bigger than I want to have now, and I was cutting acrylic, and somebody came in the front door, and I went out to see what they wanted, right? So I went out there, and I was talking to them no more than 2 or 3 minutes. I walked back in there, and the entire laser was on fire. The whole thing was on fire, man. It burned everything, everything inside, all the transport, all the wires,
Oh,
everything
dude.
went up in smoke. Okay, the cover came. The cover comes down and it has like I gotta call it plexiglass because I don't know what it is. It
Yeah.
was all melted. The flames were now up near the ceiling. Okay, so I had to grab the fire extinguisher. Of course, it wasn't a CO2 extinguisher. It was one with puts out all that white powder.
Oh, yeah.
So I had that stuff all over the place. It was nothing but a disaster. Okay,
Oh, geez.
so you never leave a laser to go out and talk to it. You sit there and you wait.
Yeah.
The only other option is to put a camera in there that you constantly can monitor on your cell phone,
Yeah,
so
but
that
then you
if
have to
anything
keep
happens, you
watching
can
the
run in
camera.
there to fix it. That's just one of the things you got to be aware of.
Yeah.
It's,
All right.
take off. Now I always have a CO2 fire extinguisher right next to the laser. I also have something that detects carbon monoxide poisoning
Uh-huh.
right next to it because you can't cut anything with the laser. You get some materials that put out a toxic substance when you cut it.
Yeah.
I think Lexan might be one of them. I think that was Lexan. You can only do acrylic and be safe that I know of. I'm not saying there's other things you can't do, but you don't want to do Lexan. It looks just like acrylic. It's nice and clear, but boy, when you cut it, puts out poison fumes.
Oh, geez.
Your wife might find you on the floor. What happened to him?
Oh, boy.
Oh, jeez.
All right. So if nobody has any more questions or comments, we're going to call it a night here. Any plastic is bad for your period. I do most plastic on CNC. All right. There you go.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely enjoyed my time on your show here today, Tom. It was great talking to all your subscribers over here. It was really interesting. I'm glad that we were able to do this, and you've done a tremendous job getting me ready for this. Tom got me all set how to do everything. I might be technical, but I'm not into what he's got over here.
I'm not going to share your camera story. If you want to talk about it, you can.
No, I will leave that one alone for now.
Okay. Yeah, I've had other guests that had problems with cameras before too, so I know how that goes. All right.
Okay, I'll tell him. All right. For the longest time, I could not get my camera to work. I mean, I had about 3 or 4 video conference calls that I couldn't figure out what the hell was going on. Usually, when you look at your screen, you got a little hole up to the top of the screen that, is the camera. So I'm looking at I got a HP all-in-one computer over here. It's got a 27-inch monitor. And I'm looking around. I said, I don't see that camera. When I run the diagnostics, it says, oh, the camera's there. Everything's fine. So a couple of days ago, I had to go out and buy another computer for some reason. When I got there, I went to Best Buy. And I saw the computer that I had over there. And I told the salesman, I said, hey, listen, I got this 27-inch monitor over there. I said, I can't get the camera to work. I said, what the hell's wrong with it? I says, where is the lens? So the guy walks over to the camera and he goes to the top of it and he pulls up this gadget in the middle. The camera was embedded in the thing. It had to be lifted up to be exposed. And I'm looking at him and go, oh my God, what an idiot I am. Couldn't figure that one out. It was very embarrassing. So now I know what to do when I have to do an online session with video. Raise the camera up so they can see you.
I wasn't going to say anything about it. I'll let you do that.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that's too funny not to tell everybody.
All right, so thank you for coming in. I want to thank everybody for stopping by and paying attention to what Bob had to say. We've been on this for 2 hours now. We're going to get the swirly smoke up here and call it a night. Wednesday, I will not be here. Debbie and I will be in Orlando. We're going to go and pay our respects to PDRR Engineer and his family. And so that's from 4 to 7 at Cafe Murano in it's hard to say, but it's in Orlando someplace. Right past Maitland. Altamont Springs that's what it's called. There you go. Altamont
Springs.
Yeah. So that's where we're going to be. So no Wednesday night live stream. We'll see you again here on Monday night. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you. And thank you, Bob, for everything. I'll be in contact with you shortly.
Okay, Tom. Thanks again for having me on.
No problem.
Thanks to all your listeners for tuning in and having a conversation with us. We enjoyed it.
All right. Here comes the swirly smokes.
Engineer, where are you headed? Carry me back to Tennessee. Oh, I got a little girl who's been waiting. Promised that she'd marry Mr. Can we leave the sea? I'll shovel coal, Lord, to pay my fare. Gotta get this train down to the station. My little girl wait for me there. Well, the night is dark and Lord, it's cloudy.
I'm gonna cut you off, Bob.
I've been traveling that lonesome road. My one true love waiting there to see. Won't that low train carry me back? Well, they left Columbus around 7. Oh, Lord, they hit Louisville about 9. That poor boy's heart started overheating, sending all of his love on down. For the night is dark and Lord is bright. I've been traveling this lonesome road.
My one true love.
Waiting there to see.
Right.
Will that long old train back? For the night is dark and the sky is cloudy. Traveling on that lonesome road. My one true love waiting there to see me. For that long old train, won't you carry me? Oh,
Train, won't you carry me home? We'll see you on Rumble in a little bit. All right. Hold on a second now.